Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Brad Walter, and today I want to discuss the on-demand travel solution that I think would be the best for your company. And just to recap, the company travel needs are listed below here. We're going to be carrying a maximum of four passengers on a typical basis. Longest trip that we're looking to have to do one way is 656 miles, the shortest trip being 73. And then the total travel miles on an annual basis for the COO would be just over 36,000 miles. The total company travel miles, you're looking at about 120,000, and that's with the new additional city of Afton, Oklahoma. Um, so the annual time savings just by switching to an on-demand travel solution versus the typical airline travel, depending on what airframe you're using, you're going to be saving anywhere from 655 to 690 hours total. And that equates up to an astounding almost 29 days of travel time throughout the year that you're going to be saving by switching to an on demand travel solution versus using the airlines. As you can see below, there's plenty of different benefits to switching to on-demand travel. The obviously biggest one is going to be your time savings. Going to be a massive time savings, like I said in the previous slide. Almost 29 days worth of hours combined throughout the year that you're going to save by switching to an on-demand solution. Not to mention the comfort and privacy. You don't have to worry about sitting in an airport terminal or sitting right next to somebody flying on an airplane. You'll have the whole airplane to yourself and any of your employees or customers you need to take with you, and you can be have a lot tighter schedule. You don't have to worry about showing up early, going through security. You can just have the plane ready to go when you're ready to go, and cut a lot of time on the front and back side of your travel. You can also get into a lot smaller airports too. Instead of having to go into a big hub like Atlanta or something like that, you can fly into a little bit smaller regional airports with your on-demand travel solutions. My objectives for this proposal are to determine the travel needs, which we kind of covered in the previous slides, and that includes the addition of the Afton, Oklahoma destination, and we're utilizing our city pair analysis tool to determine the distance and what how many hours the aircraft flying an on-demand solution is going to cut down on those hours of travel. We're going to evaluate different airframes and determine the capacities as far as cabin volume and seating capacity that each of those are going to help us out with, and the performance of each aircraft as well. We're going to highlight the strengths of each airframe and maybe the weaknesses. By weaknesses, I wouldn't really say they're weaknesses, maybe just a little bit less effective for what your company needs, and we're going to be using a selection matrix for that. We're going to determine yearly and hourly costs associated with starting up and running a aircraft operations department, flight department, and determine what that'll end up costing us on a yearly basis, and as well as startup costs. So this is just a graphic to show you exactly how much time you're going to be saving with each different airframe that I've selected. So we've got the Pilatus PC-12, the TBM 930, the Piaggio P180, Phenom 100, and the Citation M2. Just kind of a variety of aircraft there. We got some single engines, turboprops, all the way up to the Citation with a multi-engine jet. All of which are going to save an astounding amount of time. The bar on the left-hand side of each of those individual aircraft represents the time that it would take you if you were utilizing the airlines for the same amount of travel that you're trying to do with the on-demand solution. So as you can see, it's an astronomical time savings by switching over to your on-demand travel solution. When doing my interviews with the company, the cost was probably the most important to all of the individuals that I interviewed, and obviously, with most things, you need to make sure it's going to fit into the budget, and that's the thing that people hesitate the most on. It's easy to see that there's a huge time savings, but you just have to determine whether the amount of time being saved is going to be worth the extra money that you're going to initially spend for utilizing this on-demand solution. And I say initially because, as you'll see in the following slides here, it's really just the startup cost that's going to cost you more. You're actually spending more if you were to charter an aircraft or do some other solution to travel besides using your own on-demand solution by buying your own aircraft. And I've highlighted just some of the winners in this category. So the TVM 930 is obviously the cheapest aircraft and the cheapest to maintain. And the Citation M2, since it's the twin engine jet, you would put the least amount of hours on the plane for annual utilization. All right, and then this chart shows how all of the aircraft scored out, and the score is based on the weight of each category. So based on those interviews, I assigned a weight. Obviously, the cost per hour and maintenance costs, since cost was the most important to you people, to your company, I made that the most. I made that the highest value of any of the categories. So as you can see, the Pilatus PC-12 in all categories but one, but the maintenance cost scored out the highest. So that's cost, which was most important to you, and then second most important was cabin volume and payload, and that gave that aircraft an overall score of 177, which scored out the highest of all 5 aircraft. All right, and then as you can see on this chart, the associated costs and annual hours utilized, the Pilatus PC-12 is by far the best by leaps and bounds across the board as far as costs go. It is kind of close on the fixed cost to the TVM 930, but I believe the cabin volume that the Pilatus has over the TVM 930 is a huge advantage, with it being so close in cost. If you're weighing between the two on which one you might want to choose, just based on the cabin volume alone, I think you'd be much happier with the Pilatus PC-12 with that slight increase in cost over the TVM 930 to get that little bit roomier cabin to be able to work in there, have meetings, or whatever you need to do as you're traveling to your destination. And in conclusion, the Pilatus PC-12 is a tried and true airframe. It's been around for a long time. Several companies use it and have success with it, and their parts availability is another thing to consider, and there's lots of parts available for the plane if you need to do any repairs. Inside is spacious. You have that security of being able to be on your own, not going through the airport and having to be next to somebody when you're having discussions with your other employees or anything like that. Secure, and then you have a great mix of just utility and cost effectiveness of this airplane, especially since it's your first time going into or thinking about the on-demand travel solution. I think this is a great aircraft to get you started and maybe stick with for the remainder of your on-demand solution. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.